What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Rock Video Rental. I am Brandon. With me, as always, is Caleb. Caleb, have you been watching anything interesting lately?
Not so much. Typical, Family Guy in the background going. My wife, thankfully, has gotten off of Bachelor, Bachelorette, and that whole saga. But she started watching a TV show called Mom.
Oh yeah, I've seen it before with Anna Faris.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Um,
good.
it's pretty good. I mean, I'm not really keeping up with it, but I catch some episodes, and it's a pretty easy show to, jump in and out of. So I'm not really missing too much. I mean, certain people like come in and out of the show, but anyways, so that's kind of the new thing. But yeah, just been a busy past week or two. So really haven't really sat down to watch any movies. I'm seeing stuff. I started following or liking some movie pages on Facebook, and they bring up some I don't know, more obscure titles and some stuff that I check out on Instagram. And so I'm kind of like starting a list of stuff that I want to see, but it's been too busy for me to get around to it. So
Yeah, I get that. I got a whole list of movies on Plex that I haven't even touched.
yeah. But a new thing this week is Brandon's voice is back. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm not an idiot this time. I bought a brand new microphone, and I had, for some reason, my audio in on Zoom that we record on set to my computer's internal microphone. And my computer is probably about 2.5, 3 feet away from me.
Yeah, so when you listen to the American Graffiti episode, that is why it sounds completely different and definitely not good at all.
I know, which sucks because I felt like that was a good episode, but it's just really hard to listen to because the audio is so bad.
Yeah, it was a good episode, and actually we recorded. So we've got a big series we're doing come October, and so we're kind of getting ahead on it just because it'd be insane to try to record them in sequence in October. And so we recorded a second one that week, and yeah, we got to see if either I can clean up the audio or maybe we might just have to redo that episode. So time will tell.
Yeah, we'll have to see what's going on with that.
But it's all good. I mean, like we're going. I mean, live and learn, and we're definitely making progress with the quality of not just content but the audio. So
Yeah.
yeah. So as far as content, anything good on your viewing list this past week?
Oh, we're continuing with Friends. It was a, a couple good episodes we watched tonight. Uh, the one where Ross accidentally cross dresses
Oh
and
yeah,
wears that pink shirt, which
yeah.
is also the same episode of Joey doesn't share food.
Oh, that's awesome.
That one always cracks me up. Aside from Friends, I've been continuing on with my Fast and the Furious marathon. So this past week, I watched the original Too Fast, Too Furious, The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious, and Fast Five.
Dude,
Which
wow.
I'll say Fast Five is, I think, the best of the bunch. It's
Huh.
better than the original.
That's impressive. I
Yeah,
don't I
I would check that out if I was you because I know you haven't seen as many of them as I have.
Yeah, I know I've seen one, two, three, and I think I saw another one in there. Or maybe Hobbs and Shaw is kind of throwing a curveball at me.
Yeah, Hobbs and Shaw was pretty good. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that. It was fun.
Mhm.
But yeah, other than those, I also watched Running Scared,
Oh,
which is a buddy cop movie from the 80s with Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines.
oh, I thought you were talking about the remake. Or no, not remake. It's a different movie. Never mind. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, way to ruin it. It was pretty decent. It wasn't as good as like Lethal Weapon or something like that, but I enjoyed it.
Mm.
And it was just, a movie on my list of 80s movies that I haven't seen, so I had to check it out.
Rock.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Um, so Man Overboard.
Well, actually, funny thing before you go on, the reason why I thought were talking about the other Running Scared movie is because it's a
Mhm.
Paul Walker movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from 2006.
Why don't you tell me, bro?
I'm telling you, man. But anyways, back to Man
Uh,
Overboard.
yeah. Let's dive right into Weekend at Bernie's.
Don't you see? Don't you see? We just uncovered a $2 million error. We're going to be heroes. We're going up the corporate ladder. It appears as if somebody's trying to defraud the company.
Somebody tried to smoke it past the wrong guy.
Very, very good work. How would you two like to come to my house at the beach?
Love to!
For Larry and Richard,
How are you?
this is a place to die for.
You have to kill them, Vito.
A little rusty, but it'll come back to me.
What? Should we just walk in?
But what they don't realize
No, we'll stand out here on weekend. Come on, we're house guests.
is while they're checking in,
Forget the accident with the two guys. Take care of Lomax.
Bernie Lomax will be checking out.
Oh, my God.
What kind of a host invites you to his house for the weekend and dies on you?
I don't know.
Lomax told whoever he's talking to not to kill us if he's around, right?
Yeah, but Lomax is dead. He's not around anybody anymore.
I know that. You know that. Nobody else knows that. Huh?
Oh!
Where's Bernie? It looks good enough. Let's go.
Larry, what?
Huh?
Really?
Hey, Bernie, just like last week, huh?
Oh, Bernie, you animal, you are insatiable.
Doesn't anyone realize he's dead?
Hold the boat. Got him? Hold the boat.
Vito, I'm telling you, Lomax is alive. Maybe Paulie is rustier than we thought.
Ooh, Bernie, you're starting to peel. Want to get you out of the sun, huh?
Is that the killer?
How do I know, Richard? Should I stop and ask him?
No, just drive.
Serpentine! Did you hear something? What is that? It's just Bernie.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Are we doing it again today?
Oh, absolutely. You know we are.
Great. We'll see you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, ladies. We'll see you later. God, is this great or what?
So, Weekend at Bernie's, a 1989 comedy directed by Ted Kochev. The plot for it is two losers try to pretend that their murdered employer is really alive, leading the hitman to attempt to track him down and finish him off. The cast for this one, we got Andrew McCarthy as Larry, Jonathan Silverman as Richard, Catherine Mary Stewart as Gwen, Terry Kaiser as the titular Bernie, Don Calfa as Paulie the Hitman. I'm probably going to slaughter this name, but Louis Giambalvo as Vito, and Catherine Parks as Tina. So this, I realized watching this is, I think last week was my first time or second time watching this movie. And then I watched it again this week. But I realized watching it this time that there's been so many references to this movie in other movies and TV shows.
Oh, I'm sure.
The first ones that popped in my head, because it came up in an episode of Friends we watched tonight. The one where they have like the trivia contest where Ross is like the game show host.
Oh, yes.
And they ask, like, what does Rachel say her favorite movie is? They're like, Dangerous Liaisons. What's her real favorite movie? Weekend at Bernie's.
Yep.
There's an episode of The Simpsons called Weekend at Burnsies.
Nice.
Where they go to Mr. Burns' place. And then there's also How I Met Your Mother, where Barney's talking about the playbook, and he came, his favorite like all-time top play that he didn't think he was ever going to top was Weekend at Barney's.
Yeah.
And they show like his imagination where it's like Ted and
Marshall.
Oh my gosh, Marshall. Yes, I could think of his last name. I was like Erickson. or they're supposed to be Larry and Richard, but yeah. And then also another one that just now popped in my head is Regular Show at Weekend at Benson's,
Oh,
where
nice.
Benson gets knocked out and they pretend that he's like conscious. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why this movie's referenced so much. I mean, the idea of it's completely and utterly absurd and wouldn't exist in any other decade than the 80s.
Oh yeah. Well, so
But
I mean, as far as like you shared that thing with me that you found too about someone did the scientific breakdown of how many plot holes there are in this movie.
yeah, what would actually happen? Like they said, after Bernie dies, um, he would be in almost like pristine condition for a little while, but then like rigor mortis would set in after like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So they said like the bulk of the movie, like Bernie would just be like stiff as a board. And then like soon he would start to rot, attract flies, and then stink really bad.
Yeah, I didn't know exactly how that would break down, but the two things I knew were way off was one, how easily they moved him. Because I've moved somebody before, and they weren't all that big, and it's not easy. And then two is after he, with the whole boating experience, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure the body would be in pieces, and or at least when you take it out of the water, it would be disgusting.
Right. Oh gosh. But yeah, I guess we could get into kind of a brief overview of what happens. Much like the plot, it's very simple. Uh, so we meet Larry and Richard, uh, low level financial employees at like an insurance company in New York. We get Richard's like your stereotypical like uptight, straight laced guy, and then Larry's like the laid back kind of slacker guy. Um, and really like great casting for these two because it cracks me up watching 80s movies, like early 80s ones with Andrew McCarthy, because he kind of plays like the nice guy a lot. And in this one, he's kind of like a perv and just like the slacker, like loser, but he does such a great job in it.
Mhm.
Jonathan Silverman, like one of the main things I remember him from was probably nobody listening to this is going to even know what I'm talking about. But back in like the mid to late 90s, there was a Seinfeld ripoff show. I can't remember. It might have been on CBS. It was either on CBS or ABC. It was called The Single Guy, where like he had like the wacky neighbor friend and like the former girlfriend who's just his friend, and it like all the antics and things that happened in it were just like Seinfeld. It was a complete ripoff, but it only lasted like 2 seasons, and Jonathan Silverman was the quote unquote Jerry character. But um, so like these two are they're trying to get up in a company, and they go over like these lengthy reports printed out on old uh, track paper, and they come up with like a like an error in the paperwork because there's like multiple payments for like the same death of a person. So like the next day they bring the findings to their boss Bernie, um, and he like commends them for it, and then he invites them to his place in the Hamptons for Labor Day weekend. So they're all excited to go, and then like the next thing we see is Bernie sitting down with like this mafia boss, and he tells him, "He's like, we gotta kill these guys. Like, you gotta kill them." And he's like explaining what's going on, and the guy like he agrees to do it. Bernie goes off to the bathroom, and the guy's like, "We gotta kill Bernie." Like um he's getting too like loosey goosey with like all these secrets and everything. So like we got to take him out. So Bertie thinks that the hitman's gonna come kill Richard and Larry, while in actuality, like the hitman's coming to take him out. So we show Bernie like at his fancy house in the Hamptons. The hitman shows up, injects him, and kills him. And then, so like the hitman, like he knows that Larry and Richard are coming, but he doesn't. They're not going to take them out. He's just there to take out Bernie. So like Larry and Richard, they show up. Uh, they think that Bernie's just like passed out, drunk, or sleeping. So like, oh, we're gonna get you some coffee, and um, well, it'll fix you right up. So while Larry's gonna go make coffee, Richard's just like checking about, and like he holds his sunglasses under Bernie's nose, and they don't fog up. Checks his pulse, and he's like, "Oh, Larry, like he's dead." So obviously they start to panic and everything, and they're gonna call the cops, and like Larry won't let Richard call the cops. He's like, if they show up, they're gonna think that we did this. Is like, and then we're screwed, and we're gonna spend like our entire Labor Day weekend in like a hot police station answering questions. Um, so while they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do, like all these people show up at Bernie's house to like have a party.
Yeah, like a
And
mobile party or what?
yeah, like people are just kind of like moving from house to house. And it's like tight knit community in the Hamptons. Like all these huge mansions, and like all these people are just moving from house to house partying. And before they could say anything, everybody's just kind of mingling, and they were getting like overwhelmed because there's so many people, and they slowly start to realize that nobody like realizes that Bernie's dead. They're just talking to him and interacting with him, and uh women are coming up and like sitting on his lap, and no one seems to know that like he's dead. um so that's kind of good, goes on from there, where they decide they're just gonna roll with it basically. uh so Larry's just there to like have a really good time, and maybe get lucky or whatever. But at the same time, Richard, there's a girl that he's like swooning over, and he had a date with, that they work with. Her name is Gwen. She shows up at the party. So now Richard decides he's got to stick around because he's like in love with her, and he wants to date her and everything. Um, and like they're already kind of like a little rocky because he lied to her about living with his parents. He told her like he told her that they're like dead and all this stuff, but then they go back to his place, and like his dad comes out of his bedroom in his underwear, which is a funny scene. So he doesn't want her to know about all this, and he's trying to keep it from her while Larry's just trying to have a good time. So then things kind of escalate from there, and they have a party and everything. No one notices Bernie's dead. The next day, they still got Bernie and pretending he's alive, and then Larry starts like hooking him up with like ropes and stuff so he can like wave at people, which is probably one of the like most known things about this movie.
Oh yeah,
man, it reminds me of another reference from a TV show, Always Sunny in Philadelphia. There was an episode where they had to go to the hospital, and Dennis had like a guy in a wheelchair, and he realized like the guy's dead, and he's like doing a weekend at Bernie's thing with him. Like when people walk by, like he lifts his arm, and he's got a rope tied to his wrist to the guy's arm, which is just ridiculous. But a lot of that here, they find out by they're going to call the cops and try to get explain what happened, everything. While they're going to do that, Richard accidentally stumbles across the conversation that Bernie had with the hitman about the hitman coming to kill Larry and Richard. So now they're panicking, like, oh my gosh, like they're coming to kill us. Like Bernie was setting us up the whole time. So now like any morality that Richard had is kind of out the window, and he's like, screw Bernie. It's like, I thought he liked us, and was kind of taking us under his wing and everything, and commending us, and the whole time he was trying to get us killed. So they decide they have to get out of there, and like they overhear saying, you know, Bernie says to the hitman, like, "Don't kill him while I'm here." So they have to keep Bernie with them because I think that's like gonna save them. Uh, they try to get on the ferry that leaves, but they missed the last one. So they decide they're gonna take Bernie's boat. They get at the boat, and like, of course, Bernie falls off and gets dragged behind the boat, like we were talking about earlier. Um, and it kind of comes to a head where they have to swim back to shore, and they get back to the house, and the hitman follows him. He thinks Bernie's still alive because he sees him walking around with with Larry and Richard, and like this whole thing's like one big uh misunderstanding for the most part. Polly the hitman like shoots Bernie's corpse a bunch of times, and like he still thinks that he's alive. And since Richard and Larry saw him do it, now he's got to try to kill them. And during all this, Gwen shows up and she finally realizes that Bernie's dead. Um, so we get like a kind of a race through the house kind of deal. And then Larry ends up like sneaking up behind the hitman and tying him up with a phone cord and knocks him out.
Phone cord? What's that?
Yeah, right. A landline. I got kind of a little funny story about that, but I'll get to that at the end because this doesn't have anything to do with this movie. So then they call the cops, and the cops show up, and obviously like Bernie's corpse has bullets in it, so they know that the guy shot him. So he gets charged with the murder, which I mean rightfully so. He killed him anyway, but like the cops have no idea that Bernie went around as a corpse for like a day and a half. That's just kind of the end of the movie.
But there's more. Weekend at Bernie's too.
Oh yeah. Like I posted a while ago on social media that if there's ever a time in your life where you don't think something's possible, just keep in mind that they were able to make a Weekend at Bernie's too. A second time of them walking around with a corpse. Oh gosh. So I guess I'll tell you my little story here. So every night I read my daughter the book Goodnight Moon.
Okay.
And there's a part where it's there's a telephone and a red balloon part. And she's looking at the page. She's like, "Daddy, where's the telephone at? Like, where's the telephone?" And I'm like, "That's it right there." She's like, "That's not telephone." And it's because like the telephone in Goodnight Moon is like an old rotary dial phone.
Nice.
And I was like, "Sweetie," I was like, "That's what telephones used to look like a long time ago." So then she just kind of rolled with it. I mean, she's almost 3 for reference for people listening.
They need to take kids' books and maybe update the illustrations.
Yeah, put like an iPhone on there or something.
Flat screen TV in the background.
Yeah. But so the acting in this movie is pretty good. Like I said, Andrew McCarthy and Jonathan Silverman were like perfectly casted for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they have really good chemistry with each other. Like you really feel like they are friends.
Yeah.
Man, it's such a stupid like role for someone, but Terry Kaiser does a great job as Bernie. Like just pretending that he's dead. And like some of the funnier scenes are just like his reaction to stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Viti's a corpse. So like he can't like smile, he can't really emote in any kind of way, but just like the way his body like flops around and it's hilarious.
Whoa. Did you realize he was in a Friday the 13th movie?
Yeah, I was gonna get to that in trivia.
Oh, sorry, I just saw that.
Because we totally dropped the ball and we talked about that Friday the 13th movie, but I'll explain a little bit later. So Catherine Mary Stewart, I haven't seen her in too many things. I think the main thing I saw her in was, Night of the Comet, which is an 80s kind of sci-fi horror movie. with like a comet that goes over the city, and anybody that's like outside gets like vaporized or
I
turned
I
into zombies.
I saw The Last Starfighter, but
Oh yeah, she was in that.
I don't really remember it or remember her in it. Dude, what is up with like all these actresses from these 80s and 90s movies that we're reviewing that
Hmm.
haven't aged a day?
Oh yeah, she still looks like $1,000,000.
Yeah, I'm just like, what? I click on it, start looking at her movies, and I'm just like, what is up? I mean, okay, you get the Julia Roberts and all those people that have like buttloads of money. I get it.
Yeah,
But then you have these other ones that, I mean, no offense to them or anything, they're not, red carpet all the time and, pulling in millions and billions of dollars or whatever. And it's just like, dang,
yeah, and she's like in her 60s.
I never would have guessed it.
Yeah, she looks like she's at least like in her early 40s, I'd say.
Oh, watch out. She's Canadian though.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah, they got something else going on up there in Canada.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, we can watch a 80s movie where an actress like ages horribly. We can watch Top Gun and you can see Kelly McGillis. That's kind of a low blow.
A little bit, but I mean, it's the truth, so you can only polish it so much.
Straight up facts.
Rabbit
Oh
trail.
gosh. So um it's a lot of really like funny and memorable scenes from this movie. And I told you before, I think it was last year was the first time I ever watched this movie all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And you were shocked. I mean, it's an 80s movie, and I've seen almost every single 80s movie. And it's totally like a movie that I would really like. And I think today I realized like, I might really, really like this movie. Because I watched it, the second time this week and was just laughing at it the whole time. And like started to like remember scenes and everything. Uh
The one thing that I forgot about it, because I've seen it a handful of times, maybe it's the same as much as you have, or maybe a couple times more, but I feel like I completely blocked out everything before going to the Hamptons.
like everything at work and like
yeah, I did not
yeah.
realize so much time was spent on that. I didn't realize the reason that they got invited out there was because they uncovered the money.
Mhm.
I didn't realize that the hitman was originally there, or the original concept was for him to kill Larry and Richard.
Yeah.
And then totally forgot about the date with Gwen. Like I thought my recollection was he knew her from work, but then she wound up being at Bernie's party, and that's where things started for them, which was not the case.
Okay.
So yeah, I completely like blocked that out or just completely forgot about it. So it's kind of interesting to watch that again. Nothing too amazing that I missed. I would definitely say that that's the slowest part of the movie, but it does build
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, and like there's so many times where like I laugh and I'm like, this movie is so stupid, but it's hilarious. And I always appreciate movies like that. One of the things that always really makes me laugh, there's a scene where they're getting ready to go to the Hamptons and they're trying to take the boat. And Larry's like, oh no, the boat's leaving. And Richard's like, there's another one coming in a half hour, Larry. Like, it's not a big deal. He's running and he's like, hold the boat, stop the boat. And he's like, he throws his luggage on there and then jumps off the dock and like lands on the railing of the boat and pulls himself up. And Richard follows him. And like the boat pulls up and then stops. And Richard's just like, Larry, this boat isn't leaving, it's docking. I don't know why, but that just cracks me up. Uh, and then, I mean, obviously, like, one of the funnier scenes in this is when they're trying to make the escape in Bernie's boat. And, they got Bernie, like, sitting on the back, and he falls off and he gets tangled up in one of the ropes.
Oh yeah.
And he's, like, getting dragged behind, and his body's just, like, skipping across the water. And he hits, like, a jump, and it looks like a dolphin jumping out of the water. And then they come up to like all these buoys. And yeah, at this point, Richard's driving. And he says to Larry, he's like, "What am I supposed to do?" He's like, "I don't know, serpentine." So he just starts like weaving in and out of him, and he hear clong, clong, and you look back and like Bernie's bouncing off these buoys that have bells on them, and Richard's like, "What is that noise?" And Andrew's like, "I don't know." Andrew McCarthy's character's like, "I don't know," and he looks back and he sees Bernie bouncing off, and he kind of like looks forward again, and then he does like a double take, and he's like, "Man overboard."
Yeah, and a body would totally would withstand that kind of head damage.
Right? Oh gosh. So another thing I realized this movie's props to that stunt man. Like, I gotta look up who the stunt man was because that dude did a lot in this movie. Like he probably did more stunts than like Arnold did in any of his movies. Like all the falls, all the bouncing off things.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering um how much they used a dummy,
Yeah, I wonder that too.
because there were a couple times where I could see someone, I was like, oh, okay, that's not right. But I Googled real quick to see if they said anything about um the use of a dummy.
Oh, there's a sort of stunt double for Terry Kaiser when uncredited in the movie. Like, come on.
What?
Rock A. Walker is his name. He was also in Commando and RoboCop 2 and The Thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, and he did stunts for Weekend at Bernie's 2 as well. So quite a career for that guy.
Yeah.
Man, just RoboCop 2, Commando, and The Thing. Like those are all some pretty good movies.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm not sure what they did, but yeah. Well, um stunt double was hired. The injury during scene bumps into him. No way.
hmm.
They suffer in the scenes that were too dangerous for the actor. They suffered a number of broken ribs. The injuries mainly occurred during the scene where Bernie bumps into metal obstacles while
Yes,
being
I
dragged
had
by.
that in my trivia.
So they really did that?
I guess, yeah.
Holy crap! Like that
So
was
Rocky A. Walter, like or Walker, props to you, dude,
holy crap.
for all those stunts. That's impressive. Uh,
Dang.
yeah, another scene that cracks me up is when Larry and Richard think that like the handyman is like the hitman, and he walks in and Richard's hiding behind the door and he's going to hit him over the head with like a log, and he misses because the like guy bends over for something. He misses because the guy turns away, and then like finally he clacks him. Like, oh, I took him out, and then like the gardener starts showing up, so they think that he's the hitman, and they knock him out as well. But the part where he misses the handyman like 3 times cracks me up. It's like that'd be my luck if I tried to do that.
Yeah, they choreographed that pretty well.
Yeah. So is there any like scenes that were memorable for you that I didn't mention?
Oh, well, one part that definitely stood out to me and just was hilarious to me was with the toupee. The toupee, the toupee falls off, and then Larry's quick fix is to staple the toupee on top of his head. That was fantastic. I forgot about that part.
Oh yeah, that was great. Well, it all happened because Larry pushed him over like the railing of the deck, and some little kid was sort of burying Bernie in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
Then when they like pulled him out, he looked awful. So they're like using a vacuum cleaner and sucking all the sand off him, and actually pulled up his toupee. Yeah, that part was great.
Yeah, that was kind of really the main one that hasn't been talked about that I knew was worth mentioning. I mean, all the other stuff is really good too. I mean, gosh, all the scenes where they were moving Bernie around. I mean, the part two where they raced him down the dock to get into the golf cart or whatever,
Yeah.
and they had him in the wagon and was just throwing him around.
I love when like Richard dumps him out of the wagon and he like perfectly falls into the golf cart. That made me laugh. And then when Larry comes up with the idea of tying their shoelaces together and doing like a 3-legged race with them. Oh, that was great. There's one line too when they first show up at Bernie's house and they're looking for Bernie and the neighbor like Tawny comes in and she's like in a super skimpy bikini and like she runs in like all bubbly and she's just like, hey guys, like, is Bernie around? You're like, no, we think he's out somewhere. And she's like, oh, he's probably partying. It's like, just tell him I'm gonna borrow his boat. It's like, my name's Tawny. And Larry's like, hi Tawny, I'm horny. And like the fact that she just kind of ignores it because it's kind of just he kind of just says it under his breath, just that cracked me up.
Yeah, it was like smooth, dude, smooth.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess acting and stunt work amazing in this movie. The soundtrack kind of fit perfectly with the movie.
Oh yeah.
You know, a lot of steel drum stuff and just I guess more like what you consider like beach music. Oh. And man, not really like an enormous cast for this movie. It's basically you get like a few like recurring characters that show up, but mostly just a bunch of extras in the background partying.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like the dialogue and stuff. You had a lot of funny lines. Like I said, the hi, I'm Tawny, hi, I'm horny. Just like dumb stuff like that thrown in. And you just get the feeling that when they shot this movie that everybody was just having fun with it.
Oh yeah, I expect so.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all I got. You want to get into trivia stuff?
Let's go for it.
All right. So you mentioned it earlier that Terry Kaiser, who plays Bernie, was in a Friday the 13th movie. So I got something here for you. This wasn't even in the facts on IMDb. Like I just noticed it. So Terry Kaiser was the psychologist in Friday the 13th Part 7, like the jerk psychologist that takes the quote unquote Carrie character that has the telekinetic powers and like exploits her.
Wait, that was his character?
That was him, dude.
No.
And I can't believe that we didn't mention that when we reviewed that. Because I kept saying like, oh, where have I seen him before? And I'm like notorious for watching a movie and looking up on IMDb all the time to try to see why I recognize people.
Yeah. Oh my.
Yeah.
It is. Wow. I totally
Yeah.
did not. I mean, I was even thinking of looking at him and wow. Yeah.
So the other Friday the 13th alumni is the mafia boss Vito's girlfriend, who's also Bernie's girlfriend.
Okay.
I can't remember what her name is in this, but the actress name is Catherine Parks.
Mm-hmm.
And she was Vera from Friday the 13th Part 3. She's probably most known for, you know, the one that goes with Shelly to the party store in the car, and she also gets the spear to the eye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've seen the Friday the 13th movie so much, and her death was always one of them that bummed me out because I liked her as a character.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought she had a lot of depth as a character, and she seemed like, for being so good looking, that she was like really nice to Shelly, who's like this goofy guy that nobody really likes.
Yeah. Well, then too,
just
like
kind of a nice break from like the normal characters.
Yeah, and she died relatively quickly too, or was one of
Yeah,
the
it was
first.
probably about halfway through the movie.
Hmm.
And like I recognize the first time I saw this, I didn't recognize it was her. The second time I watched it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that's that girl from Friday the 13th. But so you mentioned that Terry Kaiser's stunt double broke some ribs during filming. And yeah, it was the scene where he's bouncing off the buoys,
Well, yeah. Oh my
but
gosh.
which is impressive that he did that. They didn't just use a why didn't they just use a rubber dummy?
I know. Like what?
I tell you, the creator of Riccio would have used it.
Oh my gosh.
They love their rubber dummies in Riccio. So the director of the movie has a cameo as Richard's dad in his underwear.
Nice. That's funny.
Yeah, it cracks me up. So Andrew McCarthy was asked to read the script to think about playing the part of Richard, and when he read it, he actually loved the part of Larry, and then like he insisted that he played Larry.
That's funny.
So we always like to do casting stuff when we talk about this. So John Cryer was originally casted to play Larry, but he was replaced by Andrew McCarthy.
Hmm.
And you know who John Cryer is, right?
No.
He was Alan in Two and a Half Men. He was also Ducky in Pretty in Pink.
Yeah.
But so kind of funny because we talked about License to Drive on here one time, and it's one of my favorite movies. This movie was originally considered as a vehicle for Corey Haim and Corey Feldman early in production. And then it was decided to make the lead actors older.
Yeah, probably a better idea.
Yeah, I think so too. As much as I like the Coreys, I just feel like they wouldn't have been able to handle this type of humor as well. That
I
it came off
think,
as a little cheesier, I think.
yeah, I think they could have done it if it wasn't so grown up. Like if it was
Yeah.
like two college kids, doing it or something like that.
Yeah, because this would
And
have been right around the time of License to Drive, because License to Drive came out in 88.
yeah, so it just seems like they would have felt too young to come across as like, oh, we're working real jobs.
Right.
So college student, definitely like if they were like pretending to be in high school and for whatever reason they were carting around a dead body.
Right. Oh gosh. So the working title for this movie was Hot and Cold.
Ew.
Yeah. And actually the song at the end of the like when the credits play is called Hot and Cold.
Interesting.
So according to Andrew McCarthy, the one thing that kept him entertained during the shoot in North Carolina was board games. And director Ted Kochev left McCarthy alone to improvise like what he needed. Like he brought in that Monopoly game that on set and played it often, like when he wasn't on screen,
Okay.
like when they weren't doing his shots, and it actually got brought into the movie where he's playing it with Bernie the next day.
That's funny.
So despite the film title implying it was an entire weekend at Bernie's, the movie only depicts the characters arriving on the island at 6:30 p.m. on Friday, and then the movie ends around late afternoon on Saturday.
Yeah.
So it's like a half of weekend at Bernie's. So the movie cost $15 million and it made $30 million.
Wait, 15?
Yeah, it cost 15 and it made 30.2.
I wasn't sure if you said 50.
No.
I was going to say that's quite a bit.
So one thing I actually went and watched the sequel before I watched it this week, because I've never seen the sequel, and the only thing I really knew about it was that on Seinfeld, Elaine would rent movies based from like the movie store based on the like one person that worked there's recommendations. And if there's any younger people listening to this, you might not realize that at some movie rental places, like employees would have their picks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And there was like this one pick that this guy she would always take because he had like the same taste in movies as her. And like his movies were gone. So she went with another guy's and she took home Weekend at Bernie's too. And like you could hear some of the movie in the background and she's sitting there watching it and she just like yells at the screen, "He's dead, you idiots." Which is all I could think of when I was watching both these movies. So it just made me laugh.
That's funny.
Yeah. So you want to get into grades?
One thing that you didn't mention that I feel like is worth including is that Bernie's house was made specifically for the movie and it was torn down after production was done.
Man, that's sad.
Yeah. Apparently,
it's probably why the budget was so high. Because the sequel only had a budget of $7 million.
It was a leave no trace of set, so they had to take it all down and clear it out because of where they put it on the island in North Carolina. So,
oh, sad day.
Yeah, they could have just moved it, and I would have lived in it. Take it off the island, take it by boat, and drop it off at my place.
And put it in Michigan for you. Weekend at Caleb's.
Well, like if they really moved that house somewhere, like it'd probably be a travel destination.
Probably. I mean, this movie's got kind of a cult following to it.
Yeah. But
like I said, it's been referenced so many times in like other forms of popular culture.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you moved it somewhere, it would have to be somewhere on a beach. So,
oh yeah,
mid Michigan would kind of be out of the question.
You can move it to like the coast or something.
Yeah, maybe on the bay or something.
Move it to Saugatuck.
Saugatuck.
Oh gosh. All right. So grades?
Yeah.
All right. So pulled from Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, as always. Let's do the Rotten Tomato one first.
Okay, let's
critic
go.
And audience.
Critic. I'm going to say the critics were kind of stupid with this one. Let's go 68%.
54.
Oh man, they were worse than I thought. Audience, let's go 75.
57.
What?
I was kind of surprised with that.
Where's the cult following we were just talking about?
Right? Maybe just people aren't getting in Rotten Tomatoes and voting for it.
Yeah, what a bunch of douchebags.
So IMDb is a little bit more where we would kind of expect it to be. What do you think that is?
I was about to go into 8s, but low 8, but I'm going to go ahead and go with a 7.5.
That's a 6.4.
Oh, dang, man. I still overshot it. Jeez, really?
At the end of the day, it's a stupid movie, but it's entertaining.
Yeah, and well, even as we said,
those types of movies usually get about right around a 6.
Man.
Because I'm thinking like, other stupid movies that we like Commando. I mean, let's face it, Commando's a stupid movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, that too has a smaller following than Weekend at Bernie's, though.
Oh, yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and Commando has a 6.7 currently.
Yeah.
But I would say the 6.4 is probably fair.
Yeah, I feel like that's not bad.
You want to give your grade first? You want me to go first?
Sure, I'll give mine first.
Rock.
So, totally enjoyed this movie. Seen it before. I mean, classic. Anybody could really sit down and enjoy it. Definitely not your average film, not your average plot. So, just one of those dumb, some slapstick comedy and everything in there. As I mentioned though, I really did forget the beginning portion of this movie, probably like the beginning third maybe of this movie. It's not that long of a movie, so it's not terrible, but
yeah,
the beginning was a little slow. I mean, you got to build it up, but there wasn't really much comedy. They didn't lay much of a comedy foundation at the beginning, at least in my opinion. So it wasn't more so until they went to the Hamptons and everything that things began to come together. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a 4.5 out of 5 rock.
Rock, you're thinking the same as me.
Nice.
Yeah, like I mentioned a couple times during this, like this movie has really kind of grown on me. The first time I watched it, I'm like, yeah, it was pretty funny. But I feel like it's one of those movies that the more you watch it, the more you enjoy it because you kind of can pick out some things that you didn't see before.
Mm-hmm.
And just the chemistry between Andrew McCarthy and Jonathan Silverman in this it's really good. And you get like the feeling that they really are friends. And I think everybody is kind of had like a similar relationship where, you know, you might be a Larry or you might be a Richard and, you know, have the other as a friend. I think we all have, you know, I would consider myself more of a Richard than a Larry, where you have the kind of wacky friend who always gets you in trouble, but he never seems to get in trouble or put you in awkward situations where he has absolutely no problem being in, but you're embarrassed.
Yeah,
So
definitely more on Richard's side than Larry.
yeah, so it's pretty relatable by that point. Um, and just when we were talking about this, I came up with another Weekend at Bernie's reference I can think of, and that's from The Office when they're talking about deaths that affected them. That was after Ed Truck died, and Michael was having like a meltdown because he thought that no one would care about him if he died.
Yeah.
And you know, Ryan gives his story about his uncle Mufasa dying. And then Kevin goes, he's like, one time a friend of mine, like, and I like we went to my uncle Bernie's for the weekend and he died and we had to pretend that he was alive. And like Michael's like, that's just the plot of Weekend at Bernie's. Which I could see this being one of Michael Scott's favorite movies.
Oh yeah, totally.
But yeah, so this was like the third time I watched this movie, and it definitely won't be the last. And I'll probably watch the second one again too, just because it's ridiculous and it's kind of just nice seeing the characters do something else.
I saw something that said that they seriously considered a Weekend at Bernie's 3.
Oh my gosh. Uh, like, how would they even do that? They should do like, is Terry Kaiser still alive? I think he is.
I don't know.
It should just like be Weekend at Bernie's 3, and it should be like during Halloween time.
Mm-hmm.
So like Andrew McCarthy now and Jonathan Silverman now walking around with a skeleton of Bernie. And it was just like great costume.
That's funny.
But yeah, I believe Terry Kaiser. Yeah, he's still alive. He's 81 now.
Yeah.
Doesn't look anything like he did in Weekend at Bernie's.
From Omaha, Nebraska.
And I mean, like I said, great job of acting by him. Did he pretend to be like dead the whole time, but still able to like have that strong comedic element?
Yeah.
And even before that, like he was great at playing this jerk
Mm-hmm.
that you just hated. And I mean, he did a great job in the Friday the 13th movie he was in too. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so tip of the hat to him. But yeah, 4.5 for sure. Like I said, it is a stupid movie, so I wouldn't like recommend it to everybody. But if you like dumb comedies and like buddy comedies, and if you're just like looking for something that's entertaining that you can just kind of, you know, turn your brain off and watch, I would recommend it.
Yeah. Rock.
So, next time we are going to be talking about another classic, and that is Ernest Goes to Camp. And I've seen a few Ernest movies in my life, and it's hilarious because I think every time I saw them at my friend Dwayne's house. because like his mom would rent movies for us, and it seemed like she was always renting Ernest movies. I remember she rented that and Ernest movies, and like she rented this one uh kids movie that dealt with like martial arts, but it wasn't like Three Ninjas. It was something with kangaroos.
Kangaroo Jack.
I gotta figure out what the name of this movie is. I'm looking it up for you guys. Warriors of Virtue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was pretty terrible. I mean, that movie cost $35 million and made 6.5.
Ooh. Ouch.
Yeah, that was from 1997. But they're like these weird like kangaroos. I think it was like trying to capitalize on.
Crocodile Dundee.
I think it was trying to capitalize late on the Ninja Turtles craze. Like they were just a few years late on that. But yeah, it's directed by Ronnie Yu, who's done a lot of movies, including Bride of Chucky, which was his movie after Warriors of Virtue. And he also directed Freddy vs. Jason, which is a movie that we saw not too long ago. But long story short, I haven't seen Ernest Goes to Camp, I don't think.
I can't remember which ones I've seen.
They all kind of run together. I know I've seen Ernest Saves Christmas and Ernest Scared Stupid. I've seen Ernest Scared Stupid more than once. I know that. They used to play it on TV a lot around Halloween, but I haven't seen it in a long time. But yeah, so if got any Ernest fans out there, I'm sure you're looking forward to next week.
Get ready.
Oh, yeah. You know what I mean, Vern? But yeah, until then, as always, be kind and rewind.